Okay, so Unit 6, radical and rational functions. This corresponds to 6.6, section 6.6 in your book. We'll start with something like this. The square root of 5x minus 9 plus 2 equals 13. And we want to just solve all these. Solve for the unknown variable. Now notice the plus 2 is not under the radical symbol, so it would be wrong to start combining the negative 9 and the 2, because one's under the radical, one's not. So you cannot just do that. But what you do want to always do is isolate the radical, get it by itself. Isolate the radical symbol first before you undo it. Otherwise, if I started by squaring both sides right now, I would end up with a big mess on the left side, because I would have to FOIL it out. If I square it right now, I would have to square like this whole thing, and it would just be messier. So the very simple first step is to what? To both sides? Yes. Undo the plus 2 by subtracting 2 from each side, and so you get root 5x minus 9 equals 11. And now we can go ahead and take, it will be nicer if we just square both sides, because we're undoing the radical. So we get just 5x minus 9. Nothing happens to it. It stays the same, it's just the radical's gone. And 11 squared is 121, not 22. Okay, and now the rest is very straightforward. 5x equals 130 and x equals 26. And with radical, though, what you're going to have to always do with these radical ones is check your answer. And you'll see why in a second. This is fine. If you plug it back in, it works. But in the next example, you really have to be careful. So let's do this next. Let's say we have square root of x minus 6 equals x minus 8. Okay, is the radical alone? Anything else around the radical we need to get rid of? Nope. So we go ahead and we square both sides. So you square the whole thing, each side, the entire side. So the left just ends up being x minus 6. But the right side is where you could make the most common mistake in all of algebra if you do it wrong. It is not x squared plus 64. It is not. You cannot just square each of these. What is it? Very good. You must distribute the x to both and distribute the negative 8 to both, right? You'll get 4 terms. You have to FOIL it out. And you have to combine like terms. So it's x squared minus 16x plus 64. After you distribute and combine like terms. Does anyone want me to show this over here? Doing this? Distributing? Okay. Alright, so now this is it's review from Unit 2 in the beginning of the year. What kind of equation is it? Quadratic, I saw Jewel say. So quadratic. So to review, when you have a quadratic with x squared and x in it, you will never get x alone. You have to review, you have to set equal to 0, set equal to 0, and factor. And factor, and use the zero product property. Set equal to 0 and factor. So let's set it equal to 0. First, we got to subtract the x from each side to get rid of that. And we have to add the 6 to each side. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. We'll just do both of those at once. So you get 0 on the left. And on the right, you get x squared minus 17x plus 70. So that's quadratic in standard form. It's equal to 0. To review factoring on this, since there's no leading coefficient that's not a 1, we can do the shortcut. We just say what multiplies to 70 and adds to negative 17. So if you go through the list of all the factors of 70, you will get there. Start with 1 times 70. The difference isn't 17. So then you go up 2 times 35. No. Does 3 go into 70? No. 4 go in. 5 goes in. 5 times 6. Does 6 go in? 7. 7 times 10. Yeah. And then when so if you build this list, you will get there. So it's 7 and 10 for sure, and then you got to check your signs. So it's x minus 7 times x minus 10. Because if I distributed this back out and added like terms, I would get this back. So the zero product property says x is 7 and 10. And here's my other caution, and this is what makes this new learning here, is you must check for, and you have to know this word, check for, the word is extraneous solutions. Extraneous solutions, you have to know this word. So one of these in fact does not work. It would be wrong to say the answers are 7 and 10. There are not actually 2 answers in this problem. So which one of them works and one of them doesn't? Which one works? Let's try 7. 7 minus 6 is 1. Square root is 1. Is that equal to 7 minus 8?
No.
Nope. It doesn't work. So you have to cross it off and only answer with that. And the tip is that typically it happens when you have a quadratic and you end up squaring both sides. That's when you should caution that something like this is going to happen. So, any questions? Yeah?
What equation did you plug 7 into?
The very original equation before I squared both sides. Yeah. Great question.